She hails from the beautiful Emerald Isle of Ireland. She makes her presence known when someone is about to die. She shrieks or wails or sometimes whines in a high-pitched, mournful sound. Of course, I'm talking about the Irish Banshee, a staple of Irish folklore for 1,000 years. Hi, I'm Tamworth Grice. Welcome to my channel, the Tamworth Grice Files, where you'll find cases that are spooky, macabre, fascinating, supernatural, and just plain weird. And in each instance, I have a personal connection to the story. In this instance, I actually saw a banshee. So be sure to stick around to the end to hear about that. The Banshee is perhaps Ireland's most haunting legend and one of its most meaningful. Banshee means fairy woman or woman of the fairy mound in Irish, but it's important to note that in Irish folklore, fairies are not always cute, friendly, Tinkerbell-like beings. They can be malevolent and cruel, playing tricks and even stealing babies away from families. The Banshee legends date to pre-Christian Ireland, the time of the Druids, and the early medieval period, perhaps as far back as the 700s. The earliest written records of the Banshee figure involve supernatural women whining or keening over the dead. But by the 1400s, the tales began to describe the Banshee as we know her today, a female spirit who wails as a death omen. Yet, she isn't a monster. She doesn't harm, hurt, or attack. She isn't a villain or a creature lurking with malicious intent, although she may look scary. She does not bring misfortune. She merely acknowledges what is coming or what has already happened. Thus, she is a herald. Her presence signals a turning point. A death in a family is near, and she comes to announce it. Some accounts describe her appearance as having long, streaming ginger, auburn, or white hair and a gray cloak over a green dress, and eyes that are red from continually weeping, even as she shrieks. She's usually an old lady, although she sometimes appears as a sweet-singing, young, and virginal, beautiful woman. She's mentioned in The Lady of the Lake by Sir Walter Scott as follows: an old woman with a blue mantle and streaming hair. According to a report from the 1600s, she may appear at night wearing a shawl or veil and may be on the ground, crouched beneath trees, or in the sky, flying past in the moonlight. Sometimes she appears outside a window, even if that window is on a second or third floor. Sometimes she is seen on a high wall or on a rooftop, but in most accounts she does not actually enter the room of the dying person. Her presence may terrify dogs or horses, as well as humans who know her story. Regardless of her appearance, according to the report, the cry of the spirit is mournful beyond all other sounds and betokens certain death to some member of the family, wherever they might be. She's often accompanied by a death coach. The coach is driven by a headless horseman and drawn by black horses. It moves so fast it can set the roadside bushes on fire. It may travel on the ground like a normal coach, or it may fly through the sky. In addition to hearing the Banshee's wail, the family of the dead or dying might hear hoofbeats as the coach approaches to carry away the soul of the dead. Sometimes the Banshee will warn of the death in advance, but sometimes she'll appear only after the person has died. She may be seen by a family member, even if the dying or death occurred far away and notice of the passing has not yet been received. For example, In one story, a banshee appeared to a young woman whose cousin had died confined in a jail far away. So her wailing can be the first news the family hears of the death. Many versions of the tale say she'll appear only to those of old Irish stock, not to immigrants or to those who've married into Irish families. Some say she'll appear only to families with names beginning with O or Mac, families tied to ancient Gaelic lineages. According to one scholar, her presence is most strongly associated with the old family or ancestral home and land, even when a family member dies abroad. A banshee may be seen by members of all classes, but apparently the lower classes, such as servants and peasants, are much more likely to see her. Perhaps the best description of the banshee is seen in the 1959 Walt Disney movie Darby O'Gill and the Little People. Even today, the film, which many Americans don't know, is renowned in Ireland, especially among older generations, film fans, and Disney lovers. It's often said that the banshee and death coach scenes are well remembered even among people who don't love the film because they were genuinely frightening, especially if you saw them as a child. This was certainly true in my case. The banshee in the film terrified me. Toward the end of the film, when a beautiful young woman is about to die, a banshee appears and the death coach arrives to transport the victim's soul. If you haven't seen the film, which stars a young and pre-James Bond Sean Connery, I recommend it, but as I said, the banshee scene is chilling. One scholar states, death is considered inevitable once the cry is heard, but in the film, due to leprechaun magic, the banshee did not herald a death that was inevitable. Being a Disney movie, of course there is a happy ending, and the young woman recovers and hooks up with Sean Connery. Now, my personal experience with the banshee. It happened when I was 18. My boyfriend and I were driving on a busy street downtown in the city where we lived. On the other side of the street was a strange, middle-aged woman. The streets were crowded, but she walked alone. No one seemed to notice her or walk near her. Although she was on a busy street, she seemed isolated from everyone around her. Her movements were strange. Instead of walking, she seemed to glide, but in a jerky way, not in a graceful way. Her appearance was even stranger. She wore a dress made of a very thin fabric, almost gossamer, but it was not elegant. It looked shabby and threadbare. She was incredibly thin, emaciated looking. Her skin was so pale it seemed translucent. Her hair was in disarray, and the color was very odd. It looked faded, like it had been red, but had now somehow faded to gray. As we drove along, my boyfriend and I both noticed her at the same time, and I will never forget our comments. I said, "Look at that lady. She looks like death on two legs." "Yeah," he replied, "she looks like death warmed over." I vividly remember that we both used the word death. At that very moment that we were seeing this woman, my father, unbeknownst to me, was in a building 2 blocks away having a heart attack, which killed him instantly. To this day, I believe the woman I saw, although in many ways she didn't fit the classic stereotype, was a banshee. And because my Irish family has the ancient name that begins with Mac, if it's true that she only appears to members of families with names beginning with O or Mac, it makes sense that she would appear to me. So, what do you think? Do you believe the banshee legend? Did you ever see the film Darby O'Gill and the Little People, and were you terrified of the banshee scene? Do you believe the woman I saw the day my father died was a banshee? Did you ever have an experience that was anything supernatural in connection with the death of a loved one? Please leave your answers in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story compelling, I hope you'll subscribe, like, and spread the word about this channel. Also, let me know in the comments if there are other cases you want me to explore. Your subscription and support mean the world to me. I love and appreciate you all for watching, and I hope you'll return to view the next video in the Tamworth Grice Files. This is Tamworth Grice signing off. Until next time, stay wonderful, stay weird, and have beautiful dreams.